Yeah, there's another funny thing is England created the cricket, right?
Yeah.
But they never won the World Cup until like 2 years ago. So same thing soccer, right?
Welcome everyone to another episode of Theories of Chaos. This time I'm your host Salt, joined by Octane and Sensei. I luckily did not dox anybody this time.
Wait for me to come around.
Always. So this episode is going to be about childhood dreams. And what I really want to talk about is some of the things that we wanted to do growing up, some of the ideas that were sold to us as, children, as like things that we might want to do or things that we found interesting as kids. And then there's going to be a little bit of a twist. Once somebody talks about what one of their childhood dreams were, I would like to ask about, what kind of roadblocks do you see now that you're an adult to doing that? And then one additional question would be, if you know everything that you know now, what would your new childhood dream be?
That's cool. I have some good ones.
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You want to kick off? Or?
Yeah. You know what? I'll go first.
Go ahead.
This is probably this is going to seem funny, especially since now that I work as a software engineer. But growing up, I was always very debate heavy. I really enjoyed debating about things with my parents because there were a lot of things I didn't understand. Now, me personally, not to get into any what's the best word for this? Not to bring up any controversial opinions, but I'm personally not very religious, right?
Yeah.
And I have not been from a very young age, and so I always used to, I don't want to call it arguments, but I used to get into debates with my parents about whether or not God existed or a bunch of different things, and they would always be, obviously his parents are very upset with me that I was asking these kinds of questions as a kid. And so they always used to say both, I think, jokingly and kind of as you should be a lawyer when you grow up. You love to argue and debate with people. And I feel like for the most part, that has kind of gone away from me. But that was one of the things that I wanted to do as a kid. I wanted to be a lawyer. And I was like, okay.
You want to be a lawyer because of your parents?
Yeah, because it was something that they seemed to not like. And you know how kids are. Kids like to go against,
I think they're trying to give you the ideas, right? Like, hey, do this, do that, right?
And I think that was part of it too. They were very much like, well, he's good at this, so maybe this would be a good opportunity for him. And so I spent, some of my childhood years growing up, and I don't know if I ever told the both of you this, but when I was about 12, we moved to New York City, and I lived here for a year. Problem is, my mom didn't have any money when we moved here, so pretty much immediately went into the homeless shelter program here. And they eventually were like, okay, if you want to be a member of the homeless program here in New York City, your kids are going to have to go to school. And I was like, well, I really don't want to go to school. I remember very vividly that they were like, well, you can't be a lawyer if you don't go to school. That's just how it is, right? And so I was like, wow, do I want to be a lawyer if I have to go to school? And that was where I first started to falter in wanting to be a lawyer. That was one of the first roadblocks that kind of changed things for me in terms of wanting to become a lawyer. So I can see that you're about to
I would just say being I don't know, lawyers are fine. I just feel like I think I told you this, right? I feel like lawyers just convinced everyone that they're needed.
That's the job, right?
What was that thing, right? You hear these companies, I think it was Johnson & Johnson recently, or somebody's fighting some legal battle. And they paid these lawyers millions of dollars just to avoid paying penalty. Oh no! It was that company that went the opium people. What was that Oxycontin guy?
I don't know the name of the company, but I think I know what you're talking about.
It's funny because they finally settled one of the biggest settlement in the United States history, but the people that owned it got away with it. Not getting into it, but anyway, they said 8 billion or something, but one of the conditions to accepting that 8 billion is that they can never be hold accountable at all for any crimes for Oxycontin. The whole family cannot be sued in the past, in the future, in the present
That's
Wow.
wrong. That is not okay.
That is ridiculous. And one of their selling point to accepting that offer is that they're basically saying that you're gonna get 8 billion now, but if you continue, it's just gonna go to legal and like continue fighting. So the number is gonna be way less because the company is already like near bankruptcy. So going back to that lawyer, yeah, I just feel like lawyer just convinced everyone that they need it. Like,
Yeah.
I completely agree. And here's an interesting thing about that. It's actually a stipulation of game theory. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with game theory or not, but game theory is the study of, you know, how do games work? How do people approach playing games? But it applies to a lot of things outside of, you know, just games. Like, for instance, international policies are shaped by game theory. How businesses, you know, do advertising is shaped by game theory.
Yeah.
I was reading recently that Coca-Cola spends $1 billion a year in advertising alone for its products. And Pepsi also spends $1 billion a year. But there was a study that was done that found that for 80% of dollars spent on advertising, 80% of that money is wasted because it doesn't actually convert somebody to using the product. However, they're still going to spend $1 billion because their competitors are spending $1 billion. They can't risk not spending $1 billion. And that's where game theory comes in and is very heavily on, I've got to do this because my competitors are doing this, right? And it's the same with lawyers. It's, I've got to pay millions of dollars to hire this law firm because the competition is paying millions of dollars for this law firm, right?
Yeah. It's interesting. And going back to that Pepsi thing, because that actually reminded me of something where, I don't know if you guys keep track, Xiaomi surpassed Samsung in becoming the leading cell phone manufacturer, right? In the world. And they did this without touching the United States market, like the biggest market in the world, right? And they basically Hawaii, however you pronounce it.
Hawaii.
Yeah. They got the X from the US. So they basically got destroyed just because and it's crazy how the US government just could destroy one company like that. So there was two companies, right, to take that spot of, it was either Samsung or Xiaomi. And the reason why Xiaomi did it is because Samsung has 300,000 employees. Xiaomi has 30,000 employees, right? Samsung spends millions on like billboards in Times Square and like ads. And they also have a relationship with T-Mobile, all these brick and mortar store, Best Buy. Xiaomi doesn't have that. They're online first company because they started in 2011, right? So that idea going back, right? Where you're saying 1 billion and 80%, so 800 million is wasted. But Xiaomi and like these companies are now like starting up with internet first, are like changing the way we think about it. Like, hey, why be inefficient when we could be more effective? And it's literally just because of their size and their thing, they're able to take over Samsung. And I mean, Xiaomi does a lot more. They're very smart. They're creating a whole ecosystem. They make everything from like shaving blades to like vacuum, and like they're all kind of connected. Like they're Samsung makes a lot of product, but Xiaomi has nothing. They make scooters. They make
really
they're
interesting.
Crazy. But yeah, so that just makes no sense to me. It's just like the inefficient of thing, just because we're so conditioned to like think that it's necessary. Right?
Exactly.
Like,
and you can't really fight it because your competitors do it. So what do you do? Not do it and then risk falling behind it. At this point, I think companies are just willing to spend $1 billion.
Yeah.
But so to continue on to the next part of it.
I don't understand the lawyer part. Like, why they have to spend the same amount of money other company spend? Like, I understand the advertisement, right? Because you have to be in the market. Like, a lot of people gonna see you, right? But why the lawyer? But
so here's why, and this goes into my next question for this childhood dream, which was what kind of stopped it from happening. When did you decide that was not what you wanted to do? And it was as I got older, I learned more about how lawyers work and how the law system works. See, we've got this idea of what justice is. Somebody does something bad and then they come to justice, but lawyers and the law does not actually operate like that. It's a game.
Yeah.
It's a crazy game. And so there's 9 court circuits throughout the USA, right? Now, each court circuit has its own history of ruling in favor of certain things and against certain things. So the second that a lawsuit starts to come up, lawyers are battling to get the court case put into a specific court circuit that's more favorable towards them.
Wow.
So let's just come up with an example, right? Let's say that there's a lawsuit between people suing a toilet paper company for something, right? So there's hundreds of people suing a toilet paper company. The toilet paper company is going to hire lawyers that have a good track record of getting their suits into court circuits that rule favorably towards whatever it is that they're being sued for. So let's say that the toilet paper company is being sued for fraud. Then the lawyers, if they're good enough, will get this lawsuit put into one of the court circuits that rules favorably in favor of companies that have committed fraud in the past. So the game has started before they've even gone to court, right? Yeah. And this is where game theory kind of comes back into play, is that you're no longer, it's not just settled in court. It's not just, and if you can't pay the millions of dollars to get lawyers that know how to do this kind of stuff, you've kind of already lost by the time you've even set foot in court.
And that's pretty, going back to the Oxycontin people, that's legit what they did. They're not even headquartered they found this one county in upstate somewhere that they've never been headquartered. They opened a shell company there or something, and they got the case over there, and they found a judge that's in the past been lenient to a thing. And yeah, it's ridiculous, how this whole system works. We always go back to this, it's broken for a reason, because it works for people that it needs to work for.
Exactly.
And so you think you can't get away with anything if you have a good lawyer? That's what you're saying.
Exactly. That's the real point. And that was what I realized that stopped me from wanting to be a lawyer. Being a lawyer isn't about being a good lawyer and doing what's right. Being a lawyer is about, kind of like what you said, making yourself be valuable by being able to kind of navigate the court system in a way that's it's how it works. So you can't say it's wrong, but it's wrong. You think about this and you're like, that shouldn't matter. Justice should be justice. And that's how I felt.
It's a ripple effect, right? Think about it, right? These lawyers are finding these loopholes, and these companies are like, hey, if I have this loophole, I'd rather do this shady thing, because they're like, oh, okay, it's gonna cost me $1 million, or car companies, right? $1 million to add a safety feature. They literally have price on each person's life that will be lost and stuff. There's been records of companies doing this shit. I forgot, there's actually a word for it, where they value the life versus their damage, or if they ever get sued, how much they're thinking.
Oh, right?
Wow. There's a whole thing, right?
That's crazy.
And these fucking lawyers are like, yeah, do that, pay us, we'll get you, what you got, they don't see, it's indirect. They're like, you don't see that money for the lawyer, that's indirect, but $1 billion for a safety feature, don't do that. So it's that mentality, and it sucks. A lot of companies are realizing now repetition is more people, because of TikTok and all these social media and stuff, things get way more exposed, and so companies can continue being this way, hopefully. I don't know.
Yeah, and honestly,
they always find a loophole.
There's always a loophole, right? And it's what you were saying before, Sensei, about inefficiencies. They're trying to be as efficient as possible. So why spend $1 billion actually paying out health insurance or whatever, when they could spend $200 million just fighting it in court, and then they've got $800 million left over.
Right? I think you could be greedy, thingy, and be climate change, right? These freaking companies are, we could curse, I don't care. Are literally killing the environment. And I was looking at how production of gas is actually increasing, right? It's ridiculous. There's so many warning that even scientists backed by these gas companies, they're not going as extreme, but even they're it's not going in it right? So these oil companies, they have billions of dollars. Why can't they just shift their focus for a second? Hey, let's invest more. They're not. They're investing 1% of their revenue into renewable, just because quick gain, right? Capitalism is like make the money the fastest. That's how it is. And I think you could be greedy. I like one thing I like Elon Musk, right? He's definitely not a savior or anything, right? But the reason why I like his way is because he's going for money and not fucking up the environment, right? Because you fuck up the country or the world, who's gonna fucking live here? Like,
exactly.
I never understand these things from companies. Like, be greedy, but don't destroy the one thing we all share. Like,
so this brings me back to the last part of the question for this topic, which is knowing what you know today. How would you change your dream or choose a new dream based on understanding how your original dream works? And I think that for me, I originally wanted to be a lawyer, but now that I know that the way that the law operates is very messed up, I would want to do my best to become maybe a lawmaker. And I know that we could have a whole discussion about that too. But if I could go back and, help set the laws to kind of change some of these incentives for companies so they don't do the crazy, mess up stuff that they do, then that's kind of where I would go. I would want to become a lawmaker. So that way I'm not just following the law as a lawyer and being,
we have laws because we have lawmakers.
Yeah.
We have shitty laws because
exactly. And I like to think that I would do better, but there's no guarantee.
I got. Here's my one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when I was a kid, I was really obsessed with WWE Wrestling.
Oh,
yeah. I was really the 2000s. Wrestling was really good then. We had Batista, Undertaker,
Rock. Then John
Rock was kind of leaving at that time. He was
John Cena was coming.
John Cena was the big one right there. Yeah, Rock was going to entertainment where John Cena I think it was called the Attitude Era or something. It was really good, right? I didn't have cable. I remember watching SmackDown. That was to be on podcast TV. Yeah. And then Raw used to be on USA on cable. Bro,
there's three, right? One is SmackDown and Raw, and another one is NXT something.
NXT, I think is new. Before it used to be just SmackDown and Raw.
And they're all under WWE.
WWE, yeah. But they used to make them very separate like that. I didn't think.
All the wrestlers separate.
Yeah. Wrestling culture was totally different. Now they use social media. Now in wrestling, they have a term called kayfabe. What that means is that your personality, you never break it. So you're always in character. So the Undertaker is not really Undertaker, right? Whatever is the thing.
But on stage or whenever he's in front of the camera.
But that kind of shifting because of social media and stuff, the whole kayfabe, because most fans are now, they know that wrestling is fake. They enjoy it because of the drama and the story. So they enjoy characters. So they actually interact with people and stuff. And things like but anyway, I was so into it. I even joined high school wrestling team.
So you wanted to be a wrestler?
I wanted to be a wrestler. I used to when I was kid, I used to pillow fight with just the pillows. I used to imagine the storyline.
Oh shit! Yo, I gotta tell you a story, man. Me and my brother used to wrestle a lot back home. Like we fight each other a lot.
Yeah.
But on the TV they're acting, right? But we did a real fighting.
Yeah.
Me and brother. Bro, that was so crazy. But
no, wrestling used to, especially back in South Asia, it was really big.
People they don't know it's acting. Back home, in South Asia, they think it's real. They're like these people doing real fighting.
That's
what I thought. That's what I thought, at least.
Yeah, my dad went his whole life believing that WWE was real fighting, that these things were really happening. And I was like, it's fake, right? And he's like, what are you talking about? It's not fake.
Dude, I thought it was real until 8th or 9th grade. I legit thought it was real. There was an episode when people died. I thought they legit died and stuff.
I think when you started, YouTube was coming out, a lot of people explained it. Right?
Yeah.
This
now
is not
the
real.
kids, one Google away, it's WWE Real, and you see articles of things. We didn't have that. I didn't.
Yeah, we didn't have that.
But it was a different thing. I don't think, I know a lot of people do enjoy wrestling, but the way I enjoyed it, believing that it's real, I think it's really hard to get that. Unless kids nowadays, I don't really think kids nowadays believe wrestling is real. I'm pretty sure they
nowadays kids are smart. They see TikTok, YouTube, all that. They already know.
it has skill. Don't get me wrong. Wrestling is definitely a skill. Like these athletes, they're athletes, like in a way, but they're also entertainers. But yeah.
So that's where the next part of this comes in. So it seems like you kind of realized in like 8th or 9th grade that it wasn't real. What made it not be your dream anymore? What made you decide to not pursue this?
So honestly, life. So when I joined the wrestling team, it was totally different. So the wrestling does exist as a sport. WWE is a dramatic version of that. Wrestling as a sport is like grappling. Like it's all basically technique. Like your goal is to bring down. So there's a circle, and there's 2 people, and you start off right. So there's your goal is to. I think if you get them out, you go back in. I think there's a point system. I could be wrong. But it's either you win by points or you win by pin. And the pins are not 3 seconds. The referees are not going 1, 2, 3. No, it's literally you're on your back for 2 seconds, done. Like,
really?
Yeah, you're on your back, referee will call it. So they'll look at your back, will shoulder, done, right?
So whatever we watch on TV, those are fake. I mean, literally the whole thing is fake. Like even the sport itself is fake, right? That what you're saying, you learn from school. That's the actual wrestling.
Yeah. So the sport of let's separate it. The sport of wrestling and the WWE entertainment wrestling is thing. The sport of wrestling is an Olympic sport. Right?
Yeah.
And they played in Olympics and stuff. So it's all technique. It's like grappling, putting each other down.
Yeah.
It's like wrestling. You know what? Like, I guess like
I think we never watched that kind of wrestling to be honest.
So the sport, right? The sport, you know how they fly, they jump. Those are real. Like, but the 2 athletes or the 2 wrestlers, they talk to each other. They're like, hey, you're gonna jump. So when they jump, they fall on each other, but they do it in a way that minimizes the impact. The actual sports is like it's like they talk to each other. It's you go to school, you learn the art of it, and then you learn the art of entertaining because you gotta be dominant. Like people like that made real good career, and why they go to acting is because it's a lot of it is acting, right? John Cena and stuff. They were able to get a lot of view because they were able to be charismatic and get the kids. So that's like a whole thing. But the sport is all technique and stuff. But going back to your thing, why looking back, I think life kind of hit me. Like once I did it and stuff, I wasn't really into it, and I was enjoying high school way more. You know, at that time, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. But wrestling was just kind of fading away. It was like more of a childhood thing, and as I get older, you know, like. Get into other stuff.
So it just kind of like faded away. It kind of became okay. So now the last part of the question is that now that you know what you know today about wrestling, about sports, how would you change the dream that you had as a kid, or would you just pick something entirely new?
I kind of want to just keep it the way it was.
Okay, so you still liked the fact that you know you grew up involved in wrestling, and you're okay with the fact that it just kind of faded away.
Like I like sometimes I watch YouTube videos about wrestling, but I have not like turned on wrestling in like ages, right?
Wow.
But that was still such a big part of me. I remember, this is fucked up, but I remember there was a shooting. I think it was the Virginia Tech shooting.
Oh, yeah.
Every news channel was just showing that, and my family was watching it, like, of course, because it's natural news, right? And I couldn't watch wrestling that day. I was kind of upset. I was low-key upset, like, why I couldn't watch it. Because I was much younger and stuff.
I mean, when you're a kid, you just don't understand those things, right?
But so that's the kind of dedication I had. I used to, like, follow every single... WWE, so they had like as you said, SmackDown and then Raw, then they introduced ECW. Like I used to follow all 3.
Who was your favorite wrestler?
Undertaker.
Really?
What about you?
John Cena.
Do you have one?
I don't have one.
Unfortunately.
You know, the guy, the cream of the crop guy, the guy with the handlebar mustache, and you guys have never seen that. Yeah, Stone Cold. He's my favorite. Just because of that video where he's like, "I'm the cream of the crop," and then he's just pulling like things of creamer out of his hand.
No, that's probably something.
Oh, is that not Stone Cold? Oh, okay, then I have no idea. I'll find that out later and put a picture like
we'll put it up somewhere.
Whoever it is.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So I guess that's, and one thing I did want to say is that honestly I think that is kind of a healthy mindset to have.
Yeah.
Is that, you know, you're happy with the way that things turned out. Yeah. It's not a huge deal that like you didn't become some pro wrestler or anything like that. Like, it is sometimes, you know, you grow older and you learn more about
it. You regret things like you should have done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's a healthy mindset. So good on you.
So back to me. I had a couple of them. So when I was a kid, I wanted to be a cricket player, right? Okay. Because I wasn't back home, and I used to play a lot of cricket back home. So I watched TV, all that. I play all the time, and I wanted to be a cricket player. Then I came to USA, and I went to a school that they have the cricket team, right?
Oh yeah.
So then what happened is I joined the cricket team, but I wasn't good enough for the whole whole team. I was, because there's better player. Yeah, there was better player than me. Yeah. So I wasn't like that. I wasn't competitive with them. Like they were all better. Then I still play cricket, but I don't think I'm that kind of player who would have made it to like a national team, you know.
Oh, okay.
So
interesting. Yeah. So one quick question, and I mean I'm not very familiar with cricket and the rules. Could you give me like the 30-second rundown of like how does cricket work? Like, how do people play it? How does it kind of work?
It's like baseball. You have a bat, you have a batter, right, and a bowler, right, and when the batter bat, he has to hit like they have the boundaries, like you have like the boundaries around. So if batter hit the ball, if it goes like if it's on the ground, it's touch the rope, that's 4, right? So batsman get 4 runs, right?
Oh, okay.
If the bowler get him out, like there's 3 ways to get out, right? 4 ways, I think. So one is like he can't get his stamp, like he get the stamp out, right? If I'm wrong, you could.
Go
so then, the other way he can get out, anybody can catch him. Once he hit it, anybody could catch him within those boundaries. Okay, then there's another way, I think, run out. So if you have to cross the pitch. So when you like hit the ball.
Okay. So you have to so kind of like baseball, you have to run around and get back to where you started, or do you have to run somewhere else?
So in baseball, what you do is you make a home run, right?
Yeah.
So a home run is basically you ran the whole bases. So we don't have in cricket, you don't have bases. You have, let's say, it's a long pitch, right?
Yeah.
So the batsman that's batting will stand there, and the batsman that's waiting. There's 2 batsmen.
There's 2 batsmen.
One is waiting. So the baller from the opposite team will come, ball the ball, and the batsman does it, right? So if the batsman hits it really big, like you know how they have baseball home run?
Yeah.
You still gotta run around. It's like that, but we don't run around. We just automatically give 6.
6,
and
yeah.
Then if it
6 runs.
Rolls on the ground, it's a 4. And then you can make individual runs in between, right?
Yeah.
And then that's how.
That's like okay.
There's more into it, but
okay, yeah, that's like the
what's
more on the topic.
What's more fascinating, and I think you'll find more interesting, is how cricket started. Cricket was played in America, right? Like cricket was very big in America. So cricket started by the British, right?
Yeah.
And British being the greatest colonization in history. Took it all over. So cricket is now played in South Asia. Cricket is played in any places that was
taken over by like the British Empire.
Had the cricket, but any place that wasn't like China, Japan, and stuff, cricket is not played a lot.
They play, but they're not like they didn't invest.
They play now as a modern thingy, but it wasn't introduced by China. It was more introduced by time, right?
Yeah.
So anywhere China, England went, took it. So South Asia, they colonized the whole thing, right? Australia, New Zealand, Oceania is there. Not a lot in South America. In USA used to be played, but USA wanted to be so different from British. They didn't want to play cricket. They literally, that was the mentality. They just didn't want to play cricket. So
which honestly, I mean, kind of makes sense. If you look at most of the sports, we have our own football, which is different from like the football the rest of the world plays.
They have US cricket team, but they don't invest much in it. So that's why they don't have a good team.
It's not US makes more money. I think besides taking out football, like the thing, US athletes and sports make so much money, even though they just play amongst each other. That's how you know capitalism at its finest, man. But going back, right? So that's how cricket started, and it's actually really interesting to see how the dynamic of power changed. Because England used to be very dominant in the world of cricket, right? They used to have a lot of choices, a lot of voices, and you know about it, right?
Yeah.
So how that shifted over, and money has a big part of it. South Asian, especially India, became very big, popularity in cricket.
Really,
cricket is like blood to
now is bigger, and cricket is bigger in Asia than like in Europe.
Yeah,
Europe means like not anybody else play in Europe except UK. Yeah, UK is England and Ireland. These two teams only play in Europe.
Yeah, pretty much in UK countries.
Yeah, there's another funny thing is England created the cricket, right?
Yeah.
But they never won the World Cup until like 2 years ago. So same thing soccer, right? They created soccer, right?
No, they didn't create soccer. Soccer is.
I think they did, didn't it?
I thought they did.
They invented.
No, they didn't invent soccer. Soccer, I could be wrong. But I think soccer is like some ancient Aztec, like they got the idea.
Oh,
no,
that would make sense because I do remember hearing about this. There was some game like very super vaguely like soccer where there were two teams and you had to like hit the ball like through this like little goal or something.
Even cricket is not what it used to be. Cricket used to be like it used to be called the gentleman's sport because only rich white people used to play it. And they had literally in cricket, and this is the official thing called tea break. Like they play something called a test.
So there's different formats of cricket. So one's like test, which is like 5 days.
Yeah.
One is like a 1 day thing. 1 day they call it 1 day, which is like have 50 overs.
Those are like modernized version of it. No one is interested in watching a 5-day match. We watch we can't even watch TikTok for 10 seconds.
That's actually what I was gonna ask. I had heard that cricket can run for like multiple days, and I didn't know like how does it work. They just like go home for the night and come back the next day.
Not home. I mean.
Go ahead.
So what happens is 5 days, but they have a certain amount of time they're gonna play around this time, 9 to 5. So they're gonna take break between those hours. But so what happened? They go back to like hotel or whatever and come back and start from the same where they left off.
There's a good video on Explain.
I haven't watched that one yet.
But going back to like, it's good to that you asked. So what happened was cricket literally got monetized. So as you said, right, they were looking for formats to like get more people view, right?
Yeah.
And at this time, England used to still be very powerful. So a new format came out called T20, right? So cricket is by over. Over is like innings in baseball, but baseball you get three hits for 3 outs per inning. Cricket, you don't get outs. You just get overs and wicket. Wicket is batsman. So if all your batsmen gets out, you're out, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
So test used to be 5-day, unlimited over.
But
right?
it depends. It could have ended in 1 day.
So you can have a 5-game game
and not have a winner.
Right?
You can play 5 days and the match ends in a draw.
No.
That's like most fucked up thing in cricket.
ODIs don't have the ODI has more defined thing. So T20 is a shorter version of ODI 1-day cricket, which is 20 over. And what happened with 20 over in India? Basically found a way to monetize it. Basically, they created like leagues, like how soccer. So I don't know if you follow soccer.
Yeah.
So soccer have league, like
the Premier League, La Liga League.
So they created that, and it exploded in popularity. Yeah. And what happened more than popularity? Money happened. Money. Advertisement got it. The IPL started as one of it was undervalued like thing. Right now, I think it's just in the same evaluation as like the NBA. It's more valuable than baseball, MLA. So it makes more money than MLA. It makes more money than hockey. I think it doesn't make as much money as football, like American football.
Yeah.
But it's around there, like thingy. So that kind of shifted where England kind of lost all their power, and all cricket power went to like India.
Really?
Yeah. There's supposed to be a board like ICC, International Cricket Council, but it's literally just 80% run by India.
So now the whole cricket became money. So people I'm the players. So what they do now, instead of playing in the international team, they play for this kind of IPL league. So you say, so what I'm saying is instead of playing for USA, you play on the NBA.
Oh, okay.
So it happened because of you have more money in NBA.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
And it's good thing players are making more money and stuff, but the character of the sport is changing. I don't know if it's a good thing or bad. I personally stopped watching cricket just because how India would just like, I don't care about the leagues, I don't care about anything. When it comes to World Cup, keep that thingy. But India does the thing. So we have the technology to check if something is an out or not, right? In cricket, before you give me why you might disagree with that, in cricket, what happens is we have umpires, and umpires.
So before you say things, he has so Sensei, you have history of cricket a little bit, right? That's why you know all this stuff.
Oh
right? Yeah. But you never played in cricket, right?
No, I never played a sport.
Go ahead.
So you have umpire. Umpires are more. It's like game theory. And one way you could get out is LB. LB is like the batsman blocking it with their feet. You only allowed to block with your bat. So if you block with your feet, they think about the trajectory of the ball and if it was gonna hit the stand in the back, right? So the umpires is like game theory. So if you hit it right enough, come on, umpires don't have eagle eye. So if you make enough noise, enough appeal, the umpire will give it out. Right?
Really?
So back in the day, and
they could sabotage it back in the day, right?
Yeah, umpires are human, right? So sometimes they will give the wrong decision because at the moment the winning team is winning. They're doing good. Like you could think, maybe it's just meant to be. Or it could be like the losing team, and this could be a thing, right? I'm not saying that they're biased, right?
Yeah.
They're professionals, but human elements will always have bias, right?
Yeah.
So what technology does is it could track it pinpointly and stuff, right? India, what it does, we could literally do this. Cricket is already long. The time is not the issue. We have the technology to test it right away, look at it right away between an advertisement, right?
Yeah.
But India doesn't want to do that. It's because the sway of the actual thing is much better. So they limit it.
I see.
And they were one. It's not just India, but it's the ICC that limits it, right? The council. It's supposed to be an international, but India was a big vocal against that because it doesn't favor them. And it's not this. There was a lot. There was a World Cup where the format was very good. It used to be 4 teams. Remember 2007? The 2007 World Cup?
Only 4 teams?
No, 4 teams in each group.
Oh, yeah.
And India got out. Pakistan got really good teams got out. And because it was the way it was smaller groups. And you play less things. And if you fucked up 2 games, you're out.
Yeah.
What?
Literally the next World Cup, India changed it to 2 groups and you play like 10 games. Of course, if you're a team like India, you play 10 games with 6 shitty teams, you're going to win. You're going to go to semifinal. And once you go to semifinal, it's a whole different ball game, right? Your mentality changes and stuff. So they always guarantee that they're going to go to semi. The way they structure
always been, since
so
then.
They hold so much sway over the World Cup that they were able to change the format of the next World Cup to a format that favored them. Wow, that is wild.
So ICC is not saying anything because India got so big and they have so much money, they can do anything. Like the lawyer you said, so whatever they have, they have so much money, they can do anything with the whole trick.
70% of the revenue comes from India.
Okay. At that point, like, how do you say no? How do you be like, no, I don't want any of this money?
See, that's where the ICC fucked up, I think. Because look at FIFA. FIFA is corrupt as fuck. But FIFA it's not corrupt for any one country. FIFA, the whole body is corrupt. Like, the organization is corrupt. Where ICC is corrupt because India holds the power, like one country holds the power. So that I don't like FIFA, but I rather have that because in FIFA the soccer format is 4 teams. So you team like you see Brazil getting out, you team good teams getting out because soccer makes money regardless.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It's beholden to whatever the organization wants or needs instead of what a certain country wants.
World Cup will make money no matter what. But if India gets out, less people watch it.
That's true though, because India have more viewers in India. So India, if they don't make it to playoff or semi-final or final, then less people are gonna watch. So ICC is gonna look into it like, oh, if India they have to make to final.
But that's like short-term thinking. That's the really short-term thinking from ICC.
Because World Cups happen only 4 years.
Yeah,
so it doesn't happen every year.
But ICC's goal is to promote cricket.
Yeah.
Right? The more team you get, if you get China in there, right? Why do you think India doesn't want China? Because you get China in there, you have so many eyes right there. Like if China somehow you get that country to cricket becomes part of their culture, you know how much money you're gonna make, right?
Yeah.
So it's short times, right? Imagine how do you get China into cricket? Somehow they win the World Cup, right? South Africa, it's gonna relate. South Africa used to be very racist, right? They have apartheid and stuff.
Yeah.
Then they won the Rugby World Cup, and then everyone bannered together for that Rugby World Cup, white, black, right?
Really?
Yeah. So the reason why I say that is that nationalism comes from winning, right? When we look at the Olympics, when America won gold, I feel good. I'm like, yo, it's my country, right?
Yeah.
When America plays soccer and they go to semifinal, I feel good. Like, oh, it's not semifinal. They never went to semifinal.
They went to
quarterfinal. They went once, right? I felt so good. I'm like, it's my country, right? Yeah, I'm an immigrant and stuff, but I'm mostly Bengali American because I grew up here, right? I consider myself American, right? So that pride goes there, right? So once you get pride in, you make money, right?
Yeah.
It just makes sense to me.
Yeah. So that's you touched on something that I personally find interesting. I growing up never really was into sports, but now that I kind of am older, I understand some more of like the intricacies of some of the problems that we face in America. And I know that a lot of the problems are like based around like race or whatever, you know, sports as like the ability to bring people together regardless of anything except like we're Americans. Hell yeah, let's go kick some ass and, you know, whatever sport. I kind of respect that. Like, I really like that sports can kind of have that effect inside countries to like unite people.
What do we have in the US that's like that? We have nothing, right?
Not much, unfortunately.
Besides gold medal, like I think the US is really good at winning gold medal.
I think part of it is the only thing we really have is the Olympics. Because we're such a large country that we kind of like make up our own games and then we're the only ones who play those games, right? And then, so it's like it doesn't have the same effect as like going country to country, like, you know, playing these games, right? But I mean, if sports has the potential, and you know, here's where I would bring up esports. Esports are really, you know, starting to catch on, and as like the younger generation gets older, they're going to get more and more popular. And esports are all about like inter-country like matches. You know, team from USA is against like team from South Korea and StarCraft or whatever, right?
Cool.
So I think that those kinds of things will start to kind of help unite people as they start to get marketed more. Because now, one of the things that really makes, you know, football, American football, and you know, let's say baseball so popular is that if you go to like rural America and you go into like a grocery store, let's say Winn-Dixie, Publix, you know, whatever, you will see whenever a game's coming up, whenever the Super Bowl is coming up, these huge displays. So if you're going shopping for groceries every week, you're going to see it and you're going to know that those things are coming up. Now, esports companies are starting to do that same kind of marketing where you walk into the grocery store and there's, you know, let's say the League of Legends like championships coming up and they have this huge marketing display for it. You're getting like more people interested in the sport because people are like, what the hell is this, right? And then they go and they find out and like people start to get more interested. So I think in the future, as esports becomes more prolific, we might see more of those inter-country kind of like competitions that can really help unite people. Now, I know we've kind of gone way off track, so I want to kind of reel it back in. We were talking about how your dream as a kid was to be a cricket player, right? Yeah. So at what kind of age, what age would you say that you stopped wanting to do that as like your dream, as what you wanted to do, and you know, you maybe what kind of like made you think that it was not something that you wanted to do as like
Well, when I came to USA, I still play cricket though. I still play in a league, but I don't. Recently, I started losing interest in cricket because I haven't won a championship, right? So I think
you play a local league, like
local league, local league, like
okay.
So the thing is, the reason I lost this, I mean, what I was saying, I didn't want to be a cricket player because I'm not that good, you know. I have to be better than what I am. So that's why I'm like, no, I don't think I should go this path. And
I see.
And like you said, USA doesn't have big investment for the cricket, so there's no future in it.
I see. So it's hard to kind of like visualize yourself, you know, going and making.
Even if I do harder, maybe I can be a cricket player in USA because I wouldn't make much money being a cricket player in this country.
I see.
Yeah. So I thought about the whole thing when I came here, like, and I'm like, no, I'm not gonna be a cricket player.
That's fair. Being an athlete does. You definitely need a lot of national talent as well as luck and motivation and like determination.
Yeah. And for a lot of athletes, one thing that you have to take into account is like the wear and tear it places on your body. You know? It's and in a lot of sports, it's just kind of ignored. You know, like football, they totally ignore the fact that a lot of players experience brain damage at some point. Same with MMA and like a lot of other fighting sports.
You making shitload of money in those sports though.
Yeah. So it's like
you lose part of your body, like something broke here or something.
Yeah.
Then. So what happened is, so when I started, when I about to graduate from high school, right? So I was thinking about something like gym teacher. Because I saw my gym teacher, he doesn't do anything. Like all he does come to the gym and just take the notes and that's it. Like he doesn't do much. I'm like, yo, this is the easy way out. No? Yeah, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, you're not wrong.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, right. You know what happened then? So I did some research, like, yo, let me be a gym teacher, right? And I was telling my friend, like, I want to be a gym teacher. They're like, yeah, do it. But you need a master, you need MBA. I'm like, dude,
what?
I don't think I should do that then. I'm like, no, I can't do it.
Yeah, you need MBA. Teachers in US, minimum master.
You need if you want to get licensed, minimum is MBA.
They don't pay you like you got a master. They pay you like you have no degree.
Yeah, right. They pay you shit.
US education system, but
it's actually the same with librarians. You have to have like a master's in literature.
Librarian?
I do not. Understand.
They even need a degree for that?
They need a master's degree.
Oh my, that's crazy.
I do not understand how a country like the US, who cares about power so much, doesn't invest on the education system.
That's why we're not in the top. That's why we're like, what, 5th or 6th?
Yeah.
The hyper superpower US enjoyed is gonna come crashing, right?
Yeah, because we just don't have enough well-educated people to maintain our current rate of growth for the GDP. Which is on one hand, I could see why you want to divest from education because people in power can use the fact that the people who are voting don't know anything, and you can stay in power. So people who are elected to set the budgets are incentivized to reduce budget for school funding because they can continue their rise to power, or they can stay in office if they can get people who are uneducated to keep voting them in. However, for companies, they're also kind of incentivized to keep people from being educated, because if you don't understand marketing techniques and things that they're using against you to get you to buy their products, then you're going to just keep buying their products. You're never going to stop and think, wait, I'm being manipulated to purchase this product. And so companies are incentivized to also lobby to lawmakers to reduce funding for schools, because then
I actually never thought about a company perspective.
Companies, it depends, it depends
on that thing.
Exactly. Like I'm sure that like college book publishers, they probably lobby for like more funding for whatever, so that way they can sell their books at a higher price, right? But at the end of the day, a lot of corporations, like you think your Targets, your Amazon, your whoever, they want to use all this knowledge that they've amassed about how to manipulate people into purchasing the product, and they can't use it effectively if people understand what they're doing. Because then you can recognize, you can say, oh, hey, I've seen this marketing technique before. They're trying to get me to go to their website, or they're trying to get me to click on this button because they made it big and green and sexy or whatever,
it's very thing, right? You could also equate that to just using the internet, right? Like if you're not like a lot of us, like when we talk about something and we see it on Google right away, we're like, yo, they're listening to us. Or Instagram, we see an ad.
Yeah.
They're not really listening to you. They're just so good at predicting because they created with all your data. They just created profiles of you, right?
Yeah. Right.
So it's like, knowledge is power, and like it's just not the U.S. government that's doing it. And you could see more extreme cases like things like Al Qaeda and ISIS and stuff. Why do you think all these extreme terrorist groups are so against like women getting educated and men getting, because education is power, right? Knowledge is power.
Yeah.
It kind of sucks. I mean, we should definitely have a conversation about capitalism one day. There's so much, like, as more and more, I personally, I thought capitalism is good or is needed. I don't know how I feel about it now. I know that we need to have some sort of capitalism, but it is not working, and we're just slowly to start seeing the actual effect. Because our parents or our the Gen what is that, Gen Z? No, Gen Z is the boomers, boomers, Gen and X. Whatever. Yeah, they didn't see the full effect of capitalism because their income or their thing, just in terms of a thing, didn't go up a thing. We're seeing how, if you look at it, I saw this interesting chart, and I think it was from Explain, right? Oh. They were showing the wealth, and they were showing how the American higher middle class lost money, and not the higher, or maybe
the like middle
upper, like they lost money, and that transferred to China, where the Chinese middle class, the Chinese people gained up because shipping thing. But that just so that picture is the one that's being sell. Like, hey, all our jobs are going to China. China is doing this. Asian countries are doing this. And American people are getting dumb, which is 100% true. But what people are not looking at, when you expand that graph, and we'll put it up here, you see the ultra rich, like the thing, their income exploded exponentially. Like, so the graph is like this. This is like people getting richer. This is the thingy. And the people who were in the past, basically the chart showed how people gain wealth, right?
Yeah.
The people who were on the bottom percent kind of remained there. People who were like there kind of went up, like the Chinese, the thingy. People who were richer kind of went down, like the American working class, like the
like upper middle class.
Yeah, and what was upper middle class at that time? People who work in Detroit, people who work in factories, they were making bang, and that was upper middle class, right? Now, people that were owning the factory, you could break up the 99 percentile even into 99.1, 2, 3. That's what they say, that 1 percentile. Even in the 99, 1 percentile is very different. Billionaires are not the same. Jeff Bezos is not the same as that guy that has a $1 billion. Like, there's a big difference, right? And they're like the factory owners and stuff, their income exploded. And the reason why that relates to is because capitalism focuses on short-term gain. And China is also a good example, is because China was a communist country, but they weren't surviving being communist. They had to switch to they switched to capitalism.
Really?
Right?
Yeah, after what's it called?
Mao Zedong. I don't know. That was the founder, right?
So that was when the Cultural Revolution happened under Mao Zedong.
Okay,
and that was when they went back. They were like, okay, we need to stop educating people. And
It was really bad.
And then there was another revolution that happened after he left, where they decided, it's time to move towards capitalism.
It wasn't revolution. It was one of the guy that was in power. He noticed Hong Kong mostly, because Hong Kong was at that time owned by British, and Hong Kong was doing the capitalism. He's like, yo, I want some of that capitalism. So what he did is he shut out a special zone, and you guys probably heard this, Shanghai zone, right?
Yeah.
The city of Shanghai.
Yeah.
You should look at the city's picture before and after. Shanghai was nothing.
Really?
It was worse than...
Talking about in 100 years back, or?
No, it's like maybe 20 years.
20 years?
Yeah, it couldn't have been more than like maybe 30, 40 years.
30 years, 40 years. It was definitely not our lifetime. We weren't working. It was in this thingy. And so Shanghai started, and then the same thing happened. Rich people just got really rich. The middle class, of course, China got out of thing. China elevated a lot of people out of poverty. China was very poor. Yeah. But what happened is that ultra rich just got richer, and I don't think that's how it should be. And we definitely could talk about it.
Let's have another episode where we cover this because it is super interesting. So, and there was something I was going to add to what you were saying. I think it might have slipped my mind since, but yeah. So I don't know how we got here from cricket, but let's bring it all the way back
to communism.
So let's bring it all the way back. I'll ask you the very last question of this, Octane, which is, knowing what you know now about cricket and how things kind of changed. How would you change your original dream? Would you have gone with a different sport? Would you have, maybe tried to apply yourself more, to become better at cricket? Like, what would you do differently now that you have kind of lived this life and you've played cricket growing up?
I mean, if I had the chance, I would have gone for the whole cricket thing, because I think I was good, but I wasn't never taught by anyone. So whatever I learned on my own. Yeah. So if I gone to like some academy schools or something like that, maybe I would have been better.
So let's say that knowing like as your life is today. Yeah. And you had like a time machine to go back. Yeah. Would you still pursue the career?
Yes, I would have. Yeah, I would have. Yeah.
Like that's something you.
Yeah, I think I would really go back and change whatever didn't work out. I would go fix it and like.
But for cricket specifically,
nothing else. Okay. No. But I'm not like.
No, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
So you really wanted to be.
Yeah, really. Okay, but now I'm not. I don't regret. I like what I'm doing right now. Yeah. But I think I could have been a cricket player instead of being whatever I'm doing.
Yeah. It's definitely a childhood dream. I mean, kind of thing. Was there anything else like the typical like what does most kids want to be like? Astronauts,
firefighters or something like that.
I know that kind of changed now, and a lot of kids want to be YouTubers now.
Yeah.
Twitch streamers and like
changed the Gen Z.
That's another whole topic we could talk, like the whole chaos of creative industry and how that's kind of shifting focus of people like. Painters and TikTok have successful channels just making
they just it's crazy.
And I really want to talk about this.
So creative.
How this whole creative industry is coming up with it's literally like low skill utilizing this channel that has 8 million subscribers making Subway sandwich. And I'm not dissing anyone, like I watched someone and I was like, you know what? I
just watch people making stuff.
I actually like you watching that sandwich. I don't know why.
You know the funny thing about TikTok? They fit everything within like 20 seconds. Yeah. Whatever they do, they fit in everything.
It's a whole understanding and stuff. Everything has game theory, as you said.
Exactly.
Maximize it. But I definitely want to have a conversation about how things are going towards how traditional mindset of like being there is not enough, like just
So here's actually what I'm thinking now that you're saying that. I think that this might be the first part in a 2-part episode. So maybe the next time that I host, we'll continue this and go from what we wanted to do as kids to what people these days want to do as kids. And then talk about like, some of the things that they're interested in doing and how they might be able to accomplish that. Because there's a lot of really, really good resources out there. And I think just from our own experience, we can share a lot of, what makes us interested. Because like what you were saying, like I used to love watching this show growing up called How It's Made. Mm-hmm. And it's literally just watching machines do stuff. And like now you can find TikToks or videos of just something being made, like the threading being made on a screw, and it's just fun to watch like 20 seconds of that.
No idea why it's fun. Like I watch people paint. I seen this guy. What was this? It was so dumb. Like washing a car. I'm like, this is so good. Why is this so good?
So here's my thing to you guys for the next time that I host. But both Sensei and Octane, and I'll think about this myself as well. Think about what if you were a kid today. Imagine that you're between 5 and 8 years old today, what would you want to do? And I don't want you to give me the answer now. Just think about over, until the next time.
For the kids today,
What would your dream be, and what would you want to kind of do?
That'd be interesting.
But it's gonna be tough for us because you have to be like think as a kid, like how do you?
We can never get that authentic. But we could think about it. I know what I would want to be like.
And one thing that you could even do is like, if you happen to know any kids in that age, like you have cousins or something, it'd be totally worth it to just ask them or ask their parents to ask for you and just be like, hey, what does your kid want to be? And then we could kind of like figure out and then talk a little bit more about it, because I think that this is a super interesting topic.
That would be interesting.
I would be the guy who would be clueless, like I don't know what to do.
I mean, that's not fair. So kind of going back to your question, maybe adding a little thing. What is something you guys wanted to be once you got to a place of semi-adulthood? So like, let's say college or entering college, or even like what is it then that you wanted to be that maybe you didn't
follow through? So one thing for me, and this is like super quick, even though I know we're switching roles on this, I do agree this is an interesting question. When I got to like high school and between college, I really had no idea. And you guys know how it is now. Like the cost of college is so expensive that it's hard to, unless you like have a safety net or you have like the ability to put yourself through college.
We got lucky. I mean, I got lucky. I don't have any student debt.
And we talked about this.
We talked about it.
Earlier episodes. But that's one of the things that you really have to
consider.
Kids coming out of high school and going into college, you have to consider like, do I want to go $100,000 in debt, right? And so I didn't. I just didn't want to do that.
Big brain.
Yeah, I almost did, and maybe I'll tell this story at another point. But I almost went to Full Sail, and that was going to be the biggest mistake of my life.
For sure.
That's a different story. And so I wanted to go into something that had to do with me doing art, something that had to do with me doing music, and maybe programming. Eventually, programming was the thing that I got into. But I loved like writing music. I loved playing music, and I wanted to do that. But I never really it never really worked out because it's just such an uncertain field.
Let me tell you something. So I went to college for criminal justice because I don't know what to do, right? I didn't like everybody's doing something and nobody's like giving me any ideas, right? And because there was my cousins and my families, and nobody was like, hey, do this, do that, right? No, I just went to college and I did my 2 years. Then the other 2 years, I'm like, let me just do whatever's easy, right? So then I finished my 4-year college and I have my degree, but I don't know what to do. So I went to a boot camp and I learned coding and stuff. The thing is, I went to school for something that I don't use it right now. So something that's useless. The whole degree is useless right now.
Most degrees are, most college are, but that's a whole different conversation. College does not need to be 4 year. I do not need to take a class on art history to memorize when this building and what year.
Exactly.
Like I had to take that exam. Literally memorize the picture to the year. Why? How is that going to help me? I could Google this in 2 seconds. You ever heard of Google Lens? Even if I don't know the picture, I could use Google Lens and Google will tell me in 2 seconds.
So this is something else that would be for like a really good another topic, is the idea of college as a way of learning about the world, and college as a way of like a business, like a job factory. Like you go and you learn a job at college.
You learn you basically are a product. That's all it is.
That's how it is.
They're selling you hopes and dreams.
Okay, that's true.
So going back to what you were saying. So you were saying, what was kind of the turning point in your adult life?
So like that shifted to your like career, and you mentioned the thing.
But for our society, in our society, it's a different story, right? Like I don't know about our American culture, but in our culture, so you have to have like some kind of degree, 4-year degree to look good in the society. Like even if you want to get married, that people be like, oh, does this guy have degree?
There's a lot of social what do you call that, effect to it, right? Like you're indirectly choosing a career degree because it sounds better.
So the last thing you did not bring up what was your thing? Like, what was your thing as you were like getting older that you were going to college and like you wanted to do it, but then you decided not to?
Okay, so I'm gonna say two things. One was more of like a desire, but it was never gonna come through. And another one was actual path that I was taking, and certain things happen, right? Like in life, I guess certain mistakes or certain things happen that kind of help you go into a trajectory that, looking back retroactively, you're like, yo, big brain right there.
Yeah,
like, I did that right. The first thing was I wanted to be a philosopher. Like this was in high school and stuff. I didn't know why. I thought they were so cool. Like I like having like conceptual arguments. I like talking about things that are most people are uncomfortable to talk about. I want to talk about religion. I want to talk about what's the meaning and stuff. Like, so I kind of always wanted to like do that, but first of all, my English sucks. Not only, I mean, I could speak it, but writing and grammar is horrible. But I don't know how I'm gonna do that, because that's literally an academic career, right? Like you have to write research and stuff. But that was that thing. But once I graduated from high school, and what trajectory was, I actually went for accounting, right? So I got into this college. It wasn't like the best. It was CUNY. It was Brooklyn College, right? It was like not top tier, nothing crazy, but certain thing happened where my application, I didn't do enough things, and I didn't know, like, I was in high school and stuff.
Yeah.
I was doing it on my own, and I didn't know I had to do it and the thing, and the due date passed, so I wasn't able to get into that college, right? And but I did do everything. I registered and thingy, and it was weird just because thing. So I didn't know what to do at that point, because thing. So I chose accounting, thinking that, hey, I'm good at math.
You'll figure it out.
Yeah, I'm good at math. That was like literally my reasoning behind accounting. I'm good at math. But what happened was, because that happened, and I would not be here if that fucked up. And I was so devastated because I had to go to a Worcester school, right? Like if you think of acceptance rate, that school had an acceptance rate of 95%, right? Compared to like a 45 for Brooklyn College, which is not, 45 is not like great national wise, but it's still not 95, right?
Yeah.
So like because of that, what happened was I got out, so I applied for that, and then my sister was like, "Hey, why don't you, since you're not gonna be here a long time, take your thing, but why don't you like take a 1 or 2 class on computer science, see how it goes?" And I took, I think I took like intro to something, and I really enjoyed it, and that kind of shifted my whole career. I don't think you need a degree to do computer science, but college does teach you fundamentals and stuff. That's one really good thing that college does, is they teach you work boot camps. They will hit you. And right now we're at an age, and you could agree with to this or disagree, right? I feel like we're at an age in computer programming where we don't need to know lower level. We don't need to, if we understand the higher level, and things are getting even higher level, right? Like,
so this is something that well, so I was at Play NYC just this past weekend, and I met these two incredibly intelligent people. One of them was this couple from Austin, and then the other one was I need to email both of them. I've forgotten their names at this point, but they both had their PhDs in computer science. One in human-computer interactions, and I forget what the other one was. He might have actually had a PhD in math. Yeah. And we were having this really, really interesting conversation about this concept you're just talking about right now, where like languages are so high level now that you don't need to understand assembly or machine language or anything like that. But the problem is that now we've got all this like beefy computer power and no way to optimize it, because people who are writing a lot of this code without having a PhD are not able to, low energy and, high efficiency. Those things are very hard to come by now because all the languages are super high level, right? And you have to have a PhD in order to write a compiler that could compile them down into something that's, efficient, right? Okay. And so now we're starting to waste energy and waste resources because we've come up with this idea in software that storage is cheap, memory is cheap, you can just, whatever, you just write a billion rows and it's fine. Right?
Yeah.
And you're just wasting a ton of energy. And I think that, in the coming years, one of the things that, software companies are going to have to reckon with is their power usage versus their environmental impact. So
yeah. So that's a good take on it. But what's your whole like? I'm just curious. Like, what's your take on like people doing? I personally, I don't understand a lot of the assembly, but I know about it, right? I'm aware of it, right? I understand what logic gates are and stuff because I was taught in like thing, right? But I'm curious to know what you guys feel like, and you could give a different aspect because you just started from that angle, right? What's your opinion on like people doing programming at that high level? And the reason why I want to know that is that I feel like it opens the door to more people doing it, right? It's like if you think of the world programming or the whatever you call the computer or whatever as a whole universe, we're getting to a point where people could do things without and it's fine. They don't need to. Because they could do really cool things. They could build the next app. They could build the next Uber or Grubhub, whatever,
That's
right?
how Facebook was created, right?
That guy was going to Harvard. Mark Zuckerberg.
He's very smart. He's very smart. He didn't create $1 billion company out of nowhere. He's a very smart dude. Like people give him shit, but he's a smart dude. But these companies they shine more than in technical prowess. They shine in business prowess because they get to a point where they get enough and they're just able to like keep rolling that. Jeff Bezos is a billionaire because he didn't come up with Amazon. He's a billionaire because he was able to continue rolling that snowball on Amazon, right? He doesn't do anything. If you ask Jeff Bezos what Kubernetes is right now, I don't think he will know. He just doesn't care because he has people that are 10 times smarter than him doing it right now, right?
Exactly.
So that's a whole different thing. But so what's your take on that? Like, do you think that it's a good thing, like that people are able to do these things at a high level without not understanding thing?
So I've got a couple opinions. The first one is that this is a very like complex question, and the answer will depend on the lens that you use to look through it. For instance, there are entire businesses coming up like Unity 3D, whose whole thing, or Game Maker, whatever. Their whole thing is like you don't need to know to program, you just do it, right? And so people who like
Unity.
Yeah, exactly.
You know Unity.
Exactly. You learn the tool and then you
learn
use
the tool.
And you can program with it if you understand that or if you want to do that. And so I think from in terms of accessibility and the artist in me, I think that code becoming more accessible means that more people will have an opportunity to solve problems that need to be solved. Now, the like kind of software engineer in me thinks that, yes, it's good that there's more people who have access to this. However, the potential downside, and as I was saying before, that will need to be reckoned with is this idea that we're not being as efficient as we used to be back when, you only had 64 megabytes or 64 kilobytes to work with, and you had to write an entire game like Super Mario. I forget what actual memory size Super Mario is.
Efficiency was ridiculous.
It was insane. And the things that people were doing, people are still doing that, but now they're operating on the fringes of software engineering. And they're doing things where you need to be like at the PhD level to understand some of the things that they're doing and why they're doing what they're doing. And so those are becoming increasingly just not accessible to people. And this is not just an issue with software engineering. This is also an issue with every field of science right now. There's a growing inaccessibility of science where, and this was one of the things we talked about at Play NYC. A lot of people who are doing their PhD in math have to do these proofs. And these proofs are hundreds of pages long. And in order for this proof to be true, you've got to accept that several things that lead up to that, several proofs that lead up to your proof, you have to say, if you take this proof to be true, then my proof is true. However, the proof that your proof is based off of is so complex that your entire panel of PhD scientists don't even fully understand the proof. They just accept that it's true. And math is kind of heading towards this reckoning where you've got such a insanely complex level of proof built on proof built on proof.
Yeah.
That somewhere along that chain, there's going to be a proof that's actually wrong. And then you've got a house of cards situation where the whole thing comes tumbling down, and we've got to redo 30 years of math PhD research, you know? And that to me is an interesting but kind of terrifying, you know, way to look at the future, because it applies to not just software engineering, not just math, but every field of science, where if you can't communicate what the science means to your average everyday person, what's the good in doing that science? What's the good at understanding that science if nobody else but people with PhDs in your field can understand that science and apply it? You know, and it becomes super like
I gotta disagree.
Like before you disagree, which there's a lot of ways to disagree, which I can agree with.
Yeah.
My whole thing is that we already have a very strongly uneducated populace, at least here in the USA, right? I'm not saying that we shouldn't continue to push the boundaries of science. We absolutely should. But what is the good of having powers that we don't understand and we can't control? I mean, just think about the atomic age, right? People designed nuclear weapons. Now we're getting to the point where we're designing nuclear level threats that aren't nuclear weapons, right? And going back to your whole thing about being a philosopher, we don't have any philosophers to ask these questions about the things that we're building. We're creating all these power systems. We're creating all these insanely complex systems that we can do so much with, but we aren't taking the time to stop and ask, should we do this thing? Because what are going to be the impacts of doing this thing?
Because we're looking at humanity's perspective, right? Whether that's fueled by greed or whatnot, we just want to keep advancing.
Exactly.
And I see what you're saying. And that is why the ancient time was filled with philosophers, is because there's so many people asking questions. And I don't think we have any, because who the fudge wants to be a philosopher when you make $200,000 being a programmer, right?
Exactly. Like, and here's the other thing too. How can you ask questions about something that you don't understand?
Yeah.
Right. So it's getting to the point where these philosophers, in order to be a philosopher of software engineering and sustainability, you kind of have to have a PhD in software engineering to have thoughts on, you know, the things that are happening in the world right now in software.
And it's gonna get worse with machine learning, because do you understand how machine learning?
I do. Yeah.
So the things we were just mentioning, right? How you have assembly language, that you have high level compilers, that you have a programming interface, IEDs that do it, right? So we still have to take these steps to get to binary, right? Zeros and ones.
Yeah.
Humans write codes. We understand the code we write to get to that thing. Machine learning kind of skips all that, because machine doesn't need to write language in Python to go to zeros and one. They could write. So machine learning is basically, we tell them, hey, this is where we start. This is how we're gonna get there. You find your way. Yeah. Right. That's what gist of it is, right? Like, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. No, that's right.
So now we're getting to a point where the way they're getting there, we don't know. They're not writing Python. They're writing whatever the fudge they want to get to that. And that's even more scary
because the computer itself is writing. We don't even know what that code looks like.
And it kind of is like putting a perfect bow on the conversation, because it's really interesting that you brought that up. And I actually never thought about that sense of how it is a problem if we don't understand the things we're doing. And that is why machine learning, there's no true AI yet. There's just computers that are very good at learning to get to point A to B. And then we have a bunch of choices there. That's AI right now. But if these computers get to a point where they go to binary and we don't know how they're going to binary, that's very dangerous. Right?
So
there's no way to find out.
So here's a perfect example of that. I was actually just reading up on accountability in software. You know, how do we hold ourselves accountable? Because it was software that caused the Boeing plane crashes that happened at the end of 2019, the end of 2018, beginning of 2019, right? However, what a lot of people haven't been talking about is, I think it was in 2014 or maybe 2016, one of those 2 years, we had the first ever death due to a self-driving car, right? It was Volvo. They owned the car. And the car, for whatever reason, did not determine that the object moving in front of it was a human until it was too late to stop. So it just, it ran right into him. Now, there's some other things to it, like the emergency braking system for the automated vehicle was turned off due to testing because Uber was testing these vehicles. There was a person sitting behind the wheel. They were looking down like at their phone or something. So when this thing happened, the driver couldn't do anything about it, and the software driving the car couldn't do anything about it. And as to your point, you're saying, with these machine learning systems, how do we look at the code and say, where did it go wrong? Where did it make this choice to run over this poor woman, right? And you can't, because the software is a black box. And in software, the term black box means like you can't see into it. You can't, you have no idea what's going on under the hood, right? And that's exactly what you're talking about. We have this issue where we can't debug. We can't run a debugger. We can't figure out why it made the decision that it made. We just have to say, well, I hope we do better next time.
So just to explain that a little more. So when we write code, we write with logic, right? Logic is the fundamental programming, right? So we could follow our logic. We could see where like a logic there doesn't make sense, where we're overlooking this one. Let's say that person was wearing a black thing with a little dot, right? Just an example, right? We could know that, okay, maybe we were not overlooking, then debugging, right? That's where we could say. But with machine learning, the only person that could debug is the computer itself. And they do it. They basically, that person that got hit, that person will not, like, the machine will analyze those things, what happened. They would avoid it, but it's kind of scary. We're letting... And I know that part of it too. They take the data that was generated from running that person over and then go back to the computer and say, don't do this again. And then the computer regenerates its like tensors based off of that. And to just go into that a little bit, a tensor is basically a vector of matrices. And those are all words that if you're not very strong in math, it would be difficult to so I recommend everybody read up on them, because that's the programming language of machine learning. But if you guys that's a huge topic. That's like a massive topic. I don't fully understand it. I don't expect anybody else to fully understand. But it's interesting how machine learning is a prime example of, because we created machine learning. We created this concept of machine learning and AI. It just didn't come up with it. Science fiction version of it is totally different from what we're creating, right?
Exactly.
It might get there one day. Piece of program that's able to think for himself. But we basically, the way we created this is we're like we created the problem and the solution, but we're the problem and the result, but we're not creating the solution. Our solution is that these smarter computers will create the solution for us.
Correct.
And that's kind of scary.
It is a little scary.
It's a little chaos. Just say.
I mean, that's I like how you kind of brought that all back around. But I think that's pretty much it for this episode. Thanks everyone who tuned in, who watched, who listened to this. I hope that we gave you some interesting things to think about, and I hope that you take a little time to think about the dreams that you had as a kid. We would love to hear about what kinds of dreams you had,
definitely,
and
how it changed, and all that,
and how it changed. So thanks so much. Again, Sensei, Octane, myself, Salt, and
hopefully we get some social media that we're gonna pop on the screen in the description, so feel free to follow and subscribe and all that.
Of course. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, and we'll probably continue this discussion the next time I host an episode.
Looking forward to that. That'll be fun. Different.
Awesome. Cool.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
Thanks everyone.